I know you talk a lot about the law of attraction and visualizations and affirmations, and we've had people on the show like Dr. Joe Vitale, who was in movies about that, Dr. Bruce Lipton talking about this. And I was wondering if we could first talk about how you visualize the man you are today, you know, living in Dubai with the success in these companies. Maybe talk to people a little bit about how that started.
Yeah, that's my favorite topic actually. I love to talk about that because, yeah, like you said in the intro, just a few years ago, actually 3.5 years ago, I was actually working in a supermarket in Sweden as a cashier. I was even cleaning stuff sometimes, you know, I was really at the bottom there. I just wanted to change my life. I thought that, you know, there's no way I can stay in the supermarket my whole life. I also dropped out of school a few years earlier, so I had no education. I had, you know, really nothing. And I always felt my whole life that I was meant for something bigger. I just didn't know what it was. But at some point there, I thought enough is enough. I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to change my life. I'm going to become successful. I'm going to become rich. I'm going to be free. I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to be proud of myself. I'm going to make my parents proud because back in the day, they were very worried about me. They were, you know, like really anxious about me and my life because I was, you know, no education, no solid job, doing bad things, partying. So yeah, I decided I'm going to become successful. So I started to research online. Actually, I Googled, you know, these like stupid questions like how to make money online, how to become rich, just because I thought, you know, what can I do? So I Googled those things, and eventually I found out about the law of attraction. I listened to many successful people that were talking about how they visualized their dream life and how they became successful, how they wrote down their goals on pieces of paper, and you know all these different techniques that I can go into more in detail because I want to invite you to do that. But essentially, I implemented all of these different tactics like visualizing. So, for example, I was sitting in the supermarket working as a cashier. I had no clue about what Bitcoin was. I didn't even know that it existed. But in my mind, I started to see myself as a successful person. I started to imagine myself sitting on yachts in Monaco, you know, eating caviar. I saw myself flying business class, private jets around the world, and I imagined myself talking to my parents, seeing them proud of me instead of anxious as they were back in the day. So essentially, I lived a kind of a fake reality in my mind to the point where I almost kind of started to believe this lie in my mind, and that kind of that's the important thing I think with the law of attraction and with the mindset and the energy. You have to reprogram your mind to believe not only that you deserve the best of the best, but that you already have it. That's kind of the law of attraction. Whatever you have in your body, the energy you have inside of you is what you will attract more of. So if you think about your normal life every day, then you will just get more of that all the time because that's the energy you hold inside. But if you exchange those thoughts into rich thoughts, happy thoughts, successful thoughts, yachts and jets and lifestyle, then eventually you will attract more. And that's essentially what it is. That's kind of, you know, the short term, the short story. But yeah, I can go into great detail how to do this.
Yeah, no, it's an incredible concept, and again, I've been having conversations like this for the past 10 years on London Real, because we've had people come in and talk about this. You know, one of my famous mentors, who is a high-performance coach called the $1 Billion Man, he's out of Castle in Scotland, he actually was one of the first people to talk about affirmations. And if you were in London today by my house, you would have seen me walking down the street saying out loud every day my affirmations. And sometimes the locals look at me weird, and the teachers, when I drop my kids out, they're like, why are you talking to yourself? But I literally speak out loud my affirmations. My affirmations are my goals in the future, said as if they are true today. So, you know, I have a billion subscribers on YouTube. I have all these things. And I program my mind every morning to where then when I face a difficult action, I say, well, wait a second. I'm this person. What would this person do? They would take the risk. They would step up. They would do the speaking engagement, right? They would start the blockchain protocol. And you actually you act like the person you are portraying in your mind. Because the mind is a very pliable instrument, isn't it? You can train your brain to be poor and unsuccessful, or you can train it to be successful, right? And it all starts there. It's just, what are your thoughts on that?
I couldn't agree more. We speak the exact same language, and you sound exactly like me. That's what I say all the time. And I also like. So one thing I do is when I'm in the shower, I just tell myself all these things like you said. I'm rich, I'm happy, I'm successful, I have this, I have that, blah blah blah. All of these different goals that I've had. I started with smaller goals. Now I have big goals. Because the more goals you achieve, the more you understand that everything is possible, and then you really start to believe, and that's when you can do powerful manifestation. So, but yeah, I agree with you 100%. And what I also would like to say is that words are energy, and actually everything is energy. I think to really understand how the law of attraction works, you first have to understand the universe and the quantum field that we live in. So I usually tell people that, if you take your phone, for example, it doesn't exist. It's just energy. It's just code, vibration, and the only place where this phone actually exists is in my mind, in our mind. So basically reality, or the perception of reality that we have is it's just that. It's just the perception of reality. There is no solid world. It's all just vibrational energy, just like a computer game. So, for example, if you play The Sims, if you go into a house in The Sims, it's not an actual house. It's just computer code. It's just ones and zeros, and the computer decodes the code into something that you perceive as a house. But the house, of course, doesn't exist. It's just code. The world, reality works in the exact same way. So all this vibrational energy around us, it's just a hologram. We perceive that there's, so with people there's not. And when you understand this, and when you understand that the only thing that truly exists is our mind, our consciousness, you, then you understand the power that we hold as these, I would call us eternal beings. We are divine beings in a way, because if we are the only thing that exists, then of course, there must be something to it. I mean, it just gives us so much power. And I think, of course, I sound crazy, but when I realized this, I noticed how my manifestation and my attraction power became so much more powerful. Like, it just took a whole new level. I mean, I went from working in the supermarket to now driving a Bugatti in Dubai, flying private jets every other week. How is that possible unless something even magical is happening? I mean, call it magic or call it science, I don't care, but it's definitely, there's something to it, and some people think that, but it's just a coincidence, you found Bitcoin and the crypto, but how can it be a coincidence that 3 or 4 years ago, I start visualizing myself flying private jets and buying yachts and driving the bikes, and then a few years later, I am. I don't know, to me it's just, I think it's so powerful. Law of attraction, everyone should use it.
Yeah, it's powerful thinking about that. When I feel the same when you do, we've had some deep conversations on the show about energy. And what I've found is when you have big technology networks like social media, or big, currency networks or payment networks like crypto, you can find that those things magnify very fast. So when we're broadcasting on YouTube a few years ago, I can take an idea that's between me and a guest in studio, this incredible energetic idea like Joe Vitale, who was in the movie The Secret, and it can immediately be beamed out and into the brains of millions of people worldwide, and then it creates this kind of net-sum game of energy. And then in crypto, you see another real example of it, where now you have these force multipliers, where maybe Carl 100 years ago in Sweden would have been hard to even get on a boat to get out of there, but now you can connect in with the world, and if your energy is at the right level, boom, it can all just be magnified, you create value, and you feel it. So between, kind of the internet, social media, and now what we're seeing in crypto, literally you can see this stuff manifest much quicker than in the past. But it's important for everyone to realize that only happens with your mindset. It doesn't necessarily happen when you just buy crypto on this date. And for you to get to the next level, Carl, which I'm sure you're always thinking about, you have to kind of even expand your mind, I guess, further.
I'm already at the next level, remember?
Yeah, of course. And then the next. You mentioned the Bugatti, and I want to talk about it because it's a real-world example that can get people maybe to understand this. I know one of the things you might have visualized in the past was getting the Bugatti, a very expensive sports car, and then you eventually went in and paid for it in Ethereum. And I want to use that as an example because it might get people's attention, which is what you kind of have to do in this space, right? This is an attention economy. And they might pay attention to this concept. So tell us a little bit about you walking into a dealership in Dubai and buying a Bugatti with Ethereum.
Yeah, so first of all, the Bugatti Veyron Grand Sport, which is the car that I bought, has been my dream car ever since it came out back in 2006 when I was a kid. Back when it came out, it was like the ultimate, evidence of success for me. It was like, it was the first hypercar, the first car with 1,000 horsepower, the fastest car in the world. It was like, for me, it has always been the sweetest dream. So finally, a few months ago, when I actually reached the level where I thought, it's time for me to go and pick up the Bugatti Veyron, that was a huge moment for me. It was actually it was a very emotional moment because when I went to the dealership and actually bought the car, it was, the fulfillment that I felt was just incredible. I think everyone out there has this thing that they that is their kind of trophy of success. So I think people can understand how I felt, and it was amazing. So that was the first part of the story. But yeah, I bought with Ethereum, which is very easy in Dubai. You can buy. Actually, I bought this watch with crypto. I bought all my cars with crypto. most of everything I'm buying is crypto. When I chartered jets, I paid with crypto. When I chartered yachts, crypto. The only places I don't use crypto is when I'm going to restaurants or like ordering food online or so. But all the big purchases, all my employees, I have 140 employees. I pay everyone in crypto. In fact, I have that as a requirement. If you work for me, you get paid in crypto. So that's the crypto Dubai lifestyle.
And when you go into that dealer, by the way, how much was the Bugatti, and how do you make that transfer? I'm just curious. You have to go beforehand, you have a hardware wallet. I'm just kind of curious how that works.
I actually sent my wealth manager. He came and came with his computer and just typed in some numbers and sent it over. So, I mean, someone else would probably just use their own phone. I mean, I could have done that, but I have a team that manages my money nowadays. So I sent them, and yeah, it's easy. Actually, much easier than fiat, normal money, because with crypto, you just push a button and boom, you send the money. With fiat, especially in Dubai, first I have to wait 24 hours to add the recipient as a contact, and then I can send money. And if it's the same bank, it will go directly. But if it's another bank, it can take hours, if not 1 other day. So that would be 2 days just to send the money. If it's international payments, we all know how hard that is. So crypto just completely changed the game for me and my business, because everything, all payments go very, very fast. And buying a Bugatti was so simple. I went there, sent the money, done, drove it out of the dealership. There's one little funny twist to the story that I think many people have seen now, because there have been many videos about it. But I made a video about this, and then it went completely viral. When I bought my Bugatti, I went to 2 different dealerships. One dealership was very nice to me. They allowed me to test drive the Bugatti. They treated me very respectfully, and The other dealership, however, when I walked into the dealership, they didn't allow me to even touch the car. I touched the cars, and they said, no touching allowed. And I was like, are you serious? Like, how am I supposed to buy the cars if I can't touch it? And I asked him, like, okay, but, if I'm going to spend $2 million in the car, I am going to want to sit in the car and just, touch it. And there, he said, no touching, not allowed. And he even said, first we sit down, we finalize the deal, we send cash deposit. And I was like, what? Are you expecting me to, like, finalize the deal and send you, like, I don't know, $200,000 just to touch the car? So it was obvious that he didn't take it serious at all. These videos are online. You can search it. Actually, on my YouTube channel, Carl Grunefeld, you can see the full story. And on TikTok, these videos blew up. It literally right now I checked, it was like 30 million views, because people thought it was funny. That, of course, I don't look like the average guy who buys a Bugatti, so I kind of get it. But still, you should treat everyone with respect. You should treat anyone well. And the other dealership were the complete opposite. So nice, so open, and even allowed me to take a test drive with him. Like, that was even more than I expected, to be honest. But let's just say the story ended with me buying, of course, the Bugatti from the dealership that treated me with respect. And I think it's just also good learning for people out there who are selling things. Treat people with respect. You never know who is the person in front of you. And
Yeah, I've seen those videos. They're fantastic. And yeah, you never know, especially in Dubai and in crypto, who's going to walk in. Carl, you mentioned fiat currency there and crypto. I've seen things you've done in the past, and I think you have, I'm guessing, 99% of your wealth in crypto, which is quite a statement that you make. Can you talk about why you keep all your assets in crypto, and what your thoughts are on fiat currency, the dollar, the euro, anything you might have had in the past, and where you think it's going?
Okay, so first of all, let's talk about inflation first, because inflation is absolutely skyrocketing right now. And this is something I've been talking about, honestly, for 7-8 years now, way before I went into Bitcoin, even before I went into the supermarket. I've been researching the monetary system, because I have been very interested in how that works. So I think many of your viewers probably already know this, but the banking system is very corrupt. The banking system is a very evil system. It's a legalized Ponzi scheme. And inflation robs you from your money, because inflation is theft. Every single new dollar printed or every new pound printed just steals the purchasing power of all the other units in circulation. So if you hold your dollars in an account, you're getting robbed every single minute. Every single new dollar that gets printed is another theft of your wealth. And that said, Bitcoin prevents that from happening, because there's a finite supply, 21 million units. There can never be more than that. So there's no risk of anyone ever being able to dilute your wealth. And on top of that, no one can hack your Bitcoin. No one can steal your Bitcoin. You can send them to anyone at any point in time, whenever you want, without anyone asking questions, stopping the transaction. You can cross borders. If you are in a war zone, you can literally flee your country with your Bitcoin in your mind by just remembering your seed phrase. it's just so revolutionary. So if you compare that with fiat, it's just no competition. Bitcoin is light years better. I don't even have to explain more. That should be enough. But if you even compare with gold, I would say that gold is of course much better than fiat, much better than fiat. But even then, Bitcoin has a huge advantage because gold has a supply that is increasing very, very slowly, but it is increasing. Bitcoin, like I said, is finite, which is a small advantage there. But on top of that, of course, Bitcoin, you can transport it very easily. You just press a button and boom, I can send it to China, Russia, US. Takes just a couple of minutes, right? Gold. I mean, if I'm going to send $1 million worth of gold to another country, that would cost me, I don't know, maybe more than the gold itself, even because of the security and everything. You know, shipping fees. It can cost many thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to do that. And the bigger the number, the harder to send. So, you know, Bitcoin, in my opinion, right now is the best form of money in the world. It's the best form of money in the universe. It is the scarcest asset in the universe. There's nothing else out there that can compare with that finite supply, because this finite supply can only take place in a digital world. Even if you take the most scarcest diamond or whatever out there, there's always this chance that you might find another diamond somewhere, another rare ruby or whatever. Like, the finite supply of Bitcoin is super unique, and add on top of that the decentralized nature of Bitcoin, the security of Bitcoin, the network effect, the liquidity of Bitcoin, the hash rate. It is the best form of money in the world. With that said, you asked me why I have all of my money in crypto. It's because that's how I sleep at night. It makes me feel safe. Having all my money in Bitcoin, I don't have to trust anyone. I only have to trust myself and Bitcoin, which I would do anything.
Yeah, if we can't talk enough about inflation, and I've had Michael Saylor here talking about how we first got to see Bitcoin as an asset when the Fed started doing their most recent money printing when lockdown happened in 2020. We had Jeff Booth on the show. He's got a great book about deflation, and talked about how, you know, the future price of every asset in dollars goes up, the future price of any asset in Bitcoin goes down. What's wrong with this? And we talked about how it ends up usually ruining all empires, from the Roman Empire to the Weimar Republic. Just to finish out on the dollar and fiat, Carl, how do you see the dollar and maybe the yuan playing out in the future versus, say, Bitcoin or, you know, Ethereum or other stable coins? Is this something that's going to be 20 years out, 50 years out? And how does it end, do you think, the fiat system? Because it's clearly got some time left before it shifts. But how do you see that happening?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that the fiat system is quite literally living on borrowed time. It is a finite system. It will end. It will collapse. There will be a day in the future where the dollar doesn't exist anymore, more than just pieces of paper that is completely worthless. When that's going to take place, I don't know. But right now, the inflation is completely taken off. And I've been talking about this for years now, that the inflation will take off, and that the dollar will end up in hyperinflation. Back then, people didn't believe me. Even my parents were very skeptical. You know, like, Carl, you're talking nonsense. Like, what is this? And you know, but now it happens. Like, look at inflation. Look at watches. Look at the real estate. Look at the stock market. Even during times of pure chaos, you still see stock markets skyrocketing, real estate skyrocketing. And like, you know, I bought this watch like 7-8 months ago. It's almost doubled in value already. I have friends who bought watches that tripled in value in like 1 year. Like, this makes no sense. No sense at all. These watches did not get more exclusive. They didn't generate more yield or profits. It's just like pure like inflation. Newly printed money goes straight into these luxury items. Go check cars, vintage cars, and expensive art, and all of these assets. They're completely skyrocketing. And some people think that inflation is something you can just go to the supermarket and measure, but it doesn't work like that. Inflation, real inflation, you have to look at all assets in the world, everything, because money doesn't necessarily go to every single asset equally. Money, newly printed fiat, ends up in usually the stock market, real estate, and these assets that belong to the rich. So actually, inflation favors the rich quite directly, right? Because the rich people, they own these watches and cars and you know stuff, and the people that lose through inflation are the middle class and the poor people. But the middle class is short, because middle class are usually people that keep a big chunk of their money in the bank, and they rely on their salary, and the salary is always lagging behind in adjusting for inflation. So if inflation was 10-20% this year, you should get a 10-20% increase in your salary. Otherwise, you actually got the salary cut. And this is something people don't really realize, because of course schools don't teach this. very conveniently. But yeah, I don't like the system we live in, and I hope that Bitcoin can truly change everything. I think it will. I think when the dollar and the fiat system collapses, there will be an alternative that has to take place, because money is energy. It can't be destroyed. It can only shift place. So it will transfer. So the energy, the monetary energy, will have to go somewhere. I believe Bitcoin will take that energy. So I think holding Bitcoin like I do, it's like having your ticket to the Noah's Ark. I am already on the ark. I'm just waiting for the flood to come, and it is coming, that's for sure.
I've never heard that analogy. I like it. And you make a great point. You know, Michael Saylor argued that inflation was 33, 35% in 2020 because that's what the stock market was propped up by the Federal Reserve. And so a lot of people, they don't see what's happening. You know, the whole system of money in the world is one big mind game, like you said. And the rich get richer, the poor people are penalized for the check the government sends them, and yet they're the ones that are living in this fear mindset that want it the most. So they're almost the victims of their own circumstance. And you said it all comes down to the fact we don't teach this stuff in schools. I had Robert Kiyosaki on my show many times, author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, done interviews with him that have been watched, I think, tens or even hundreds of millions of times. Because people are attracted when he says, poor people work for money, rich people make money work for them. He raised his hand when he was a kid in school and said, when are you going to teach us about money? And they said, no, Robert, we don't teach about money in school. And he said, why? You're teaching me Spanish, chemistry, and history. Why don't you teach me about money? But it's something they don't do because of the system. And the beautiful thing about Bitcoin and crypto is, maybe for the first time ever, it almost shows us that right in front of our faces. Here's an alternative, system, almost like those parallel universes in Star Trek, where there was like the ship over here and the ship over here, and you're like, oh, this is a monetary system that could work in the long run, and it shows us maybe this one isn't. But Carl, we still have a lot of education to do. I think most people in the G7 countries still think, get my money, stick it in the bank, it's going to keep me safe. So I think we got a lot of educating to do. Let me jump to Bitcoin prices, the market, because this is something you talk about on a regular basis on your YouTube channel, which is amazing. People need to subscribe. You do daily videos. You also do technical analysis, which is fantastic as well. I did my 10-year anniversary of London Real last October. I had Alex Gonzalez Swissboard in the studio interviewing me, and Bitcoin hit all-time high at the end of 68,000 on the day we did our 10-year anniversary. Was that coincidence? I think not, Carl. But since then, we've seen it correct. And I'm wondering, what do you tell people when they ask you, what's the future of Bitcoin? Does it matter? What should I do? What's your current take on the market?
Okay, so first of all, I've done enough research on Bitcoin to the point where I can confidently tell you that I feel like I understand Bitcoin. I understand why I put all my money in Bitcoin. With that said, I don't worry about the price action on a daily basis or even the monthly basis. If Bitcoin goes down 50% or up 100%, I really couldn't care less, because my time horizon is the next 10 years, even 20 years down the line, because the monetary cycle is moving in these big ways, and the fiat system is collapsing right now as we speak. It's collapsing slowly enough that people don't realize it yet, but it is definitely failing. It's breaking slowly but surely. And Bitcoin for me is a bet on that. So if I'm right, then Bitcoin is of course going to go up in value due to this. And we also have to think about two different things here, value and price, because with inflation, the price of Bitcoin could go up while the value stays the same or even goes down. Because inflation kind of destroys the whole point of measuring value with the fiat currency. It's like kind of trying to, imagine if my watch was kind of, floating around and going backwards and sideways and up and down. I wouldn't be able to tell the time, right? Same with inflation. Inflation makes it very hard to measure value with fiat. It's like, if you're in school with a ruler trying to make a straight line, if it's going like this all the time, how are we going to make a straight line? It doesn't work. So just like that would be a bad way to measure business, fiat is a very bad way to measure value. I think Bitcoin is going to be much better way to do that because I define that supply. We don't have that insane inflation. So that said, I think Bitcoin is going to completely skyrocket in value when people realize the value of actually holding Bitcoin, or the reason why you should hold Bitcoin, and why the system needs an alternative. And I've said before, I think Bitcoin very, very easily will go to $6 million per coin, calculated in today's money. But if that takes place, then that means that the dollar has to collapse, because otherwise, basically Bitcoin will take over the value of all money in the world, and that would be approximately $6 million. But if that happens, then the actual price of Bitcoin will likely be something like maybe, hundreds of millions, or maybe even trillions or quadrillions of dollars per Bitcoin because of inflation. But at that point, it makes no sense to even measure Bitcoin in dollars, because it's going to be completely worthless. The dollar is, hyperinflated. But yeah, so I think Bitcoin will go to $6 million a coin, calculated into today's money. But I think it can go even higher than that, because that's based on just Bitcoin taking over the dollar and all the other fiat currencies around the world. But I think that there's a lot of economic energy out there, monetary energy, held up in the stock market, in the real estate market, in even art collections, in even old vintage cars, from people who are using these assets as a store of value simply because of the lack of an alternative. So these people that hold these assets, they're smart, they're rich, they made money, they understand inflation, so they don't put their money in the bank account, because that's like watching an ice cube melt in the middle of the desert. It's stupid, and these people understand. So they put their money in these different assets. However, these assets are not very liquid. If you hold $20 million worth in an apartment, I mean, if you want to buy something else, now you have to liquidate your apartment. It will take you a couple of months maybe to find a buyer. Same goes with cars, even worse with art sometimes. You get the point. With Bitcoin, it's very liquid. It's quite fungible. I would say almost completely fungible. So you can sell it on the market like that. There's always a buyer for Bitcoin. So imagine when these people that have these assets, we're talking about maybe a couple of $100 trillion worth of value out there. When these people realize that instead of holding real estate and expensive cars and art, they can have the same amount of value hold up in Bitcoin, but stay completely liquid on a 1 minute's notice. They can liquidate the Bitcoin, get dollars or real estate, whatever it is they want. I mean, like I said at the beginning of the interview, I bought the watch, I bought the cars with Bitcoin. I mean, it's a life hack. It's a life hack. Imagine if I had all of my wealth in real estate. I can't just go to the watch store and tell them, hey, take my living room and I buy the watch. Doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a big point.
Are you surprised that the world hasn't woken up to Bitcoin sooner? You know, we hear about institutions looking at it, and more people are talking about it. But are you surprised it's lagged? And did you think maybe it would really kick off more in 2022, or does it not surprise you?
I'm actually not surprised at all, because first of all, there's a lack of education. People don't know about this. I would even go as far as saying there's a huge corruption going on out there. There are forces out there that are fully incentivized to keep people from using Bitcoin. Just look at the banking system. I mean, I've had bank accounts frozen and closed because of using crypto. And, you know, just look at the school system. They don't teach you anything about the monetary system. They don't teach you about the dollar, Federal Reserve, how the banking system is completely corrupt and robbing you every single day of your money. They don't tell you that. Why? The politicians, I mean, are they doing anything? No. I feel like the world, you know, it's just very corrupt, and I don't trust the elites or the higher ups to have the best interest for me or for my friends or for anyone out there. So I'm not surprised that Bitcoin has not taken off yet. I'm not surprised that people don't understand what's happening in the world, because the information is being kept from them, I believe. So people are not stupid. They are just they're getting held out on this information. They're getting kept from the truth. Which is very sad, but that's also why I am trying as much as I can to talk about these things. I'm speaking about this every single day on my The Moon channel and on my other channel called Runefeld. I'm trying to just inspire people to go out there, make a great life for themselves with the law of attraction and crypto and everything combination anyways. But yeah, so I'm not surprised. But I'm doing everything I can to speed up the process, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, money is the ultimate system of control, and, you know, if you can't control the money, then it's going to be very hard to control the people, whether you're trying to do that overtly or covertly. And, you know, I've had conversations about the open metaverse on the show, and I want to get your thoughts later on that. Talking to Yatsu of Animoca Brands and a bunch of people, Sandbox, saying we've got to make sure it stays open and it's not controlled by a Facebook or a Zuckerberg. But if you think about it, the monetary system is a bit of a metaverse, right? They can control your whole reality by controlling your money. Because if you don't have control of your money, I mean, freedom of speech was something we fought for hard 2 years ago. You don't even have the option of speaking if you can't even control your own money. And so, like you said, it's built into a system of politicians, media companies, all of this, that is probably happy with the status quo. And so, again, whether they're conspiring or not, it's in everyone's interest to kind of keep it the same. Just final question on that. I was speaking, I have an academy where we teach DeFi, and I have a small group called Kings of DeFi, and I had a bunch of people talking last night, and a former person on Wall Street for 25 years, and she's trying to educate people on crypto. I said, do you think these old school people will ever learn crypto, or do you think it'll have to die out? As in, at some point, is it a new generation with new knowledge? What are your thoughts on that, Carl? Do you think we can re-educate the world, or do you think sometimes the mindset is so closed and it's reinforced by so many things around us that you'll literally need those people to die and a new generation to bring it up?
Great question, and I do have a strong opinion on that. It is true that there's this word of saying, like, it's hard to make an old dog teach them how to sit, right? And I think
It's
it's true.
It's hard to teach an old dog new tricks.
Yeah, exactly, that's it. So basically...
You're not talking about me, are you? You're not talking about me.
Not much, but I am talking about my parents, for example. It took a lot of convincing for them. Actually, when I started my Bitcoin career, my crypto career, they were very skeptical. They thought it was super shady and super strange, and they told me to go get a real job, a real education. They were not happy at all. It took a lot of convincing. If I didn't make money from this, they would probably still not believe me. But because of the fact that I made money, now they see that it's a good thing. But I think it's true. And let's just compare with the children. Children, they learn languages like that. A 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, they can speak a new language that they learned literally inside 2 years fluently, right? Because that's how it works. But if I'm going to learn a new language, it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and it's just, it's hard. But for children, they are now growing up with these iPads in their hand, and they're doing all these tricks and things. They know the iPad way better than their parents, because the brain of children it's just so pure and powerful, and they learn very, very quickly. Language is the perfect example. But I think that is a very important point, because I think the children will be the first to understand the metaverse. They will be the first to adopt the metaverse. Just like the children, the younger people were the first to use Facebook, for example. And eventually the younger people, they moved on to Instagram. Now the older people are using Facebook. And then the young generation started to adopt TikTok. And now the old people are using Facebook, and even Instagram is starting to shift, So the younger generation are always the people that try new things, understand it, adopt it, and make it big. And then only later, when it already has reached adoption, that's when the true mass adoption happens with the older generation. They always come last when it comes to technology like that. The same will be with Bitcoin, crypto, metaverse, and all of that stuff. Now it's the younger generation, and it will take a long time before we reach that critical mass adoption. But I'm patient. I think it's going to take another 10, maybe 15, 20 years before we see Bitcoin being integrated everywhere, before we use the metaverse in any real sense. But yeah, I'm patient. I'm definitely patient, and I don't look for these like get rich quick things, because that's usually how people lose money. I think you have to just make research, become confident in what you're doing, enjoy what you do, feel passionate for what you're doing, and success, money, and wealth will come your way. You will attract it.
Yeah, you definitely will attract it. If you're constantly delivering value to other human beings in this world, then that's the best way to attract that wealth. And when you're actually trying to get the wealth, it's a great way to actually not get there, because you're probably focusing on the value creation. You mentioned a good thing about mindset. I think as we get older, I heard this analogy once, Carl, I'm curious what you think. It's like skiing down a ski slope, where as you get older, you kind of get into these grooves and these ruts with your mindset. So it's very hard for you to go off-piste and to try something new or learn something new. Whereas, children, funny enough, my young boys are 4 and 5 years old, they just went skiing for the first time. Again, they picked it up like within 20 minutes, because they don't have all the fears and the mindsets, and I can't do this, right, and I'm going to fall. They just go. It's like, oh, okay. And they pick it up quick. So I think as we get older, we just have to make sure we don't stay in those grooves, which I think you can do if you're constantly challenging your mentality. Again, trying to push it out to the attraction, trying to push yourself to affirmation. But it takes hard work. And I think the natural progression of most people's minds is to create those grooves. And then it's very hard to see outside your reality, like you said, that you've created for yourself, which really is just a construct in your own mind, supported by language, like you said. Carl, I want to ask you about things besides Bitcoin, because what I like about you is that you're not just a hardcore maximalist. And again, I've known Max Kaiser for almost 10 years. I was on the show when he was in London, and he was on this show in 2013, literally screaming about Bitcoin. And I appreciate Max, but he's very maximalist. Again, he only likes to talk about Bitcoin. I know you have your own protocol, Casta. I know you bought CryptoPunk. I know you're talking about the metaverse in the future, and DeFi protocols obviously have Ethereum. Can you talk about the rest of the universe of blockchain protocols, and do you consider yourself a maximalist or not, and how do you try to get people to talk about other things?
I was actually a maximalist for a while ago. Like, let's say 2 years ago, I would have probably told myself I was a maximalist. But then I shifted mindset, and I realized that, hey, this space is way too powerful to just be about one single point. Obviously, I never see anything ever come even remotely close to ever replacing Bitcoin as money in crypto. That's not going to happen. But there are other things out there, like you see the NFTs, you see the metaverse, crypto gaming, you see all of these other things. That's where we can see opportunities besides Bitcoin. That's where I'm investing. I've invested in over 370 crypto startups myself. So I've deployed, a big chunk of my wealth into investments into, I literally own hundreds of them. So I don't think anyone can call me maximalist at this point. And then there is a funny story with this NFT that I bought, this CryptoPunk. So I wanted to buy CryptoPunk because why not? And I wanted it to be worth $1 million because I thought it sounds good for marketing, so I would buy a $1 million CryptoPunk. So I went online, I bought one that was worth $1 million. At that point, 240 Ethereum approximately. And the reason why I bought it was I wanted to put it as my Twitter profile picture because that's what people usually do. So I was looking for a CryptoPunk that looks like me, and I found one. I was like, perfect, that's one. Bought it, and actually, literally like, I don't know, 1 minute later, when I bought it already, I scrolled down on the page. Then I saw that the CryptoPunk that I bought, that was supposed to represent me, was actually a female CryptoPunk. So it was a little bit of a stupid mistake, and but it became a funny story. Many articles wrote about my like $1 million mistake. I decided to keep it. I still have it, and I even put the CryptoPunk on my Formula 2 car. I'm a sponsor of Campus Racing, a Formula 2 team, and I put the CryptoPunk there, and I even ordered a I don't know if you know the watch Jacob & Co. But I ordered a Jacob & Co. watch, and I put a custom one, and I'm putting the CryptoPunk in the watch, and the Bitcoin logo, and also my logo. So it was a mistake, but I'm at least making up for it with some PR.
I love that. The story sometimes is more important than the actual NFT, right? We need it back. And I know what a Jacob is. I was a big 50 Cent fan back in the 2000s, and I was going to go buy a Jacob, and then I went here to London in the watch store, and they convinced me to buy the Hublot instead, but I went down the deep Jacob route and the AP route as well. You know, so the NFT, you were happy to get it. It was also a great media event as well, which is fantastic. Have you gone further into the NFT world, and then what do you think about metaverse and gaming going forward? There's a lot of exciting things happening. Things are moving fast. What do you see, and are you part of that with your investment?
I am very, very involved in that with my investments, for sure, even my own companies. I am very, very bullish on crypto gaming specifically. If you look at the gaming industry itself, it's growing faster than many other industries out there. If you combine that with crypto, which is an industry that is growing even faster, this combination is just fantastic. And this is something I've deployed many, many millions of dollars into different crypto games, different gaming studios, and I even have my own project coming up. I will share with my audience very soon more about that. But for sure, I do have some NFTs, but I didn't deploy a lot of money to that out of my network, just like this, just for fun, just doing it for fun. Because in my opinion, NFTs are very speculative, extremely speculative, and it's very hard for me to calculate the value of a specific NFT in the future. I believe in the NFT technology in itself, but buying a specific NFT is just too much risk for me, and I just don't believe in that way of investment. So I have my CryptoPunk, I have a Bored Ape, I have a couple of other ones, but that's it basically.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. NFTs are even more volatile than the crypto assets themselves. They're highly speculative. I always tell people to just be careful when they go in that space and diversify.
I'll tell you now that 99.5% of all the NFT collections that are coming out now are going to go down close to zero, in my opinion. There will be a few of them out there that might hold some value in the future, but it's just like the ICO bubble back in 2017. When you can make quick money, that attracts so many players, and everything from serious players to very bad players, and they just make hay while it's sunny or whatever it's called. That's what people do. They just print money out of thin air almost with these NFT collections, and it's almost going to the point where when people use the word NFT, I do cringe and I feel like because it's just too much at this stage. And but yeah, do your own research, I guess.
Yeah, it's quite a buzzword right now. I had Robbie Ferguson from Immutable X on recently, and they're trying to basically make everything transferable via NFT at very, very low cost. And he said, Brian, we don't even use that acronym NFT because we just think you should be able to move your assets any way you want and have full ownership. So they don't even use the word, but they're creating this blockchain protocol to just move it around. It's very, very low fees. So yeah, that's probably the future. And the metaverse plays are super exciting. We've invested in a company here called Cost the Ages, and we've had obviously the Animal people on, Sandbox people on, and Illuvium guys we had Kieran on last week talking about those. And yeah, that's really exciting as far as what's happening next. How goes your own protocol? I know you started Kafka, you had over 100 people working for that. Why does Carl DeMoon, who's super busy, creating media and investment companies, also decide to create your own blockchain and payment system? That seems like a big thing to go do. Was that important for you to go ahead and do that because payments is an important piece?
Payments is very important. And okay, so to be perfectly honest, Bitcoin is revolutionary, amazing, Ethereum is amazing. But when it comes to the payment aspect today, if you want to buy a cup of coffee in Starbucks, Bitcoin is actually not yet perfect for that, because if you buy coffee for $2 or $3, then the transaction fee will be even higher than the actual profit. So Bitcoin and Ethereum right now are not suitable for buying those everyday items, and also splitting the bill, for example, at restaurants, or micro payments, whatever. All of these small payments are just not suitable. So with Casa, our mission is to change that and help the mass adoption for Bitcoin and crypto by allowing people to invest in Bitcoin and actually use it for payments and getting them from fiat into crypto. And like I said in the beginning of the interview, I'm buying these expensive things with crypto, but when I go to the restaurant, the supermarket, and whatever, I need to use fiat. And today, there is no very, very good way to do that, in my opinion. We do have something in Sweden that everyone is using called Swish, and that's actually the inspiration for Kassan. Swish got critical mass adoption in Sweden, but it is a banking app, and I don't know, thanks. So we've created Casa to be much more friendly, and it's going to be a crypto-first approach, and we want to make sure that people can use the app, even if you're like, I don't know, a 90-year-old grandma or grandpa. We want it to be just as easy to send money to buy a cup of coffee with crypto, just as sending an email or an SMS. It should be so easy, dead simple. Cut out all of the nonsense. That's what we're doing with Casa.
And what's it like to build something like that, and to have a team and raise money, go through the IDO process, and then just continue going? What's that like?
So it's exciting. I love building things. I'm building many companies currently, and I'm involved in so many different things right now, because not only do I love to build things, but I love the crypto industry. I love Bitcoin. I love crypto. I love the people in crypto. We're all here together. I feel like we're kind of like this, we're these warriors against the banking system. So I'm part of this revolution, and I don't want to just sit and look at the revolution happening. I want to be part of it. I want to build it. I want to, the best way to predict what's going to happen in the future is to right now build the future yourself. That's how I know how it's going to be in the future, because I'm part of the change. So building Casa, building these other companies I'm involved with, I shape the future. I can predict the future because I know how it's going to be, and I'm super excited about that. And once you go crypto, you can never go back. Crypto, my whole mind, my whole mindset, my whole career, everything is crypto. It's a completely different world, a completely different universe that I'm living in right now. I feel like I've shifted reality. Maybe I even did, who knows how the universe works. But the supermarket Carl and the crypto Carl, it's just completely different, and I'm so happy about it.
It is a reality shift, and it all starts and continues with your mind. A few more things I want to ask you. You're big on Twitter. You got 1 million followers, and Twitter is this communication platform for the world. You could argue YouTube is as well, and we've had a long history here with YouTube and broadcasting things, etc. Twitter, we also see Mr. Musk potentially buying it and potentially changing policies about it. What are your thoughts in general as far as Twitter as a platform, as far as being able to remain, say, a free speech platform? Are you happy with where it is? Does it need new direction? Does it need fixing? Does it need a replacement? What are your thoughts?
I wouldn't say that I have very strong opinions on that, to be honest. If I bought Twitter, I would probably try to use the infrastructure that's in Twitter to make it more, hopefully, like decentralized in a way. I'm not sure how easy it would be to transition Twitter to a completely decentralized platform, but I would be interested in doing something like that. I would also be very interested in using that infrastructure for payments, because you already have all the accounts, you have the different connections and the adoption, using that infrastructure to bring payments on top of that. So if I owned Twitter today, I would integrate Kafka and Twitter just like that, and make payments simple using these pads, because that's how we're going to use with Kafka also. These we call them CAS pads, just like on Twitter you have your handle, so it's easy to send payments. Instead of using this crypto alphanumeric private keys and public keys, just simply just clicking someone's, at Brian Rose or at Carl Unicel, and also use people's phone numbers. So that's what I would do. I don't know what Musk is going to do. Obviously, I would hope that Twitter will remain quite neutral. I wouldn't say it's completely neutral at this stage, but it's more neutral and more objective than many other platforms. I know that Instagram is completely horrible. They censor people for talking about many different subjects, and I think that's just so evil and sad. And when I hear these stories, I just get so emotionally. I hate that. So I appreciate that Twitter at least is much better than Instagram. But yeah, who knows? I mean, Musk is so unpredictable. I have no clue. If he buys Twitter, I don't know what he's going to do. Like, honestly, he could do anything. I mean, maybe he will just. I don't know. It will be exciting to see what he will do.
It's true. Well, like you said, it could use a nice dose of decentralization, potentially, because you see the benefits of that in crypto, and it could use integration with a value exchange fee, like a peer-to-peer payment, and then it would be pretty impressive as a network. And yeah, you mentioned, when we talk about this closed metaverse and open metaverse in the future, you're talking about a few platforms that, are a bit closed. They have censorships and restrictions that are run by big companies. Is that something you think about in the future, where we want a metaverse, which I guess is, even a WhatsApp group is a metaverse, right? It's a way of digitally communicating. Is it really important that we try to keep those decentralized and autonomous and not under the control of any specific entity? Do you think that is important for information flow going forward?
I think so. I mean, I think free speech is so important. Freedom of speech, freedom of money, freedom of anything really. I think it's very, very important that we don't have governments and companies interfering with what we say or what we do and where we keep our money as well. I have so many examples of friends that got banned on Instagram, for example. Either they got banned, or their verification got taken off, or they got shadow banned because they, for example, maybe simply said to their audience, for example, I'm not going to get vaccinated, for example, or they say something like, I don't believe this is correct about a certain topic. They actually get shadow banned. My friend, he was talking in his stories on Instagram a little bit about like how he's not going to get vaccinated, how he doesn't believe in that, blah blah blah. And what happened was he got shadow banned. When I tried to tag him in my story because we met in my office, there was a pop-up coming up saying you can't tag this person because he has been spreading misinformation about the COVID vaccine. And I was like, what is this? What does that even mean? That was actually very scary. And I know what he has been saying, and it's completely non-controversial stuff, but very, very rational, healthy skepticism, I just, and I just realized that this world is just, very, very centralized and controlled, and there is no freedom of speech. That's just an illusion. And yeah, I really hope that Bitcoin and the metaverse and the blockchain technology will bring about a complete shift. It will take a long time, but like in the next 20, 30 years, if we get a decentralized world, then I will be so happy. And of course, the skeptics will say that in a decentralized world, you will see a bunch of, terrorism and child pornography and stuff like that. And in a way, yes, there will be things like that, because if you allow everything, then of course everyone gets a platform. But that is the whole point. And just like porn, like child pornographers, they're probably using cell phones, right? Should we ban all cell phones because of that? Bank robbers, actually I like bank robbers because they're not robbing the banks, but they use cars. Should we ban cars because some people are using cars for evil? Technology itself is neutral. How you use it, however, it can be good or bad. And actually these sides are good at that anyway. So I think decentralizing everything is the way to go. But yeah, it would allow everyone to have a platform. But I really do believe that that is the way to go. There's a price to everything. So yes, there will be bad people using the decentralized protocols for bad things, and I don't know what to say about that. It's just the price we have to pay for the decentralized future. But it is so important. Like, what is the alternative? That you can't talk openly on Instagram, but you get shadow banned. What if your bank accounts are frozen? Now you're using microchip in your hand, and now you can't pay for your health care. And it's like, we have to decentralize the future. Otherwise, by the rate we're going right now, we will just be robots with microchips and we can't do anything anymore, and like the government is like controlling our mind or something. And now I sound crazy, but again, look at where we're going right now. It seems to be more and more centralization, and I don't know, I don't like that.
Yeah, you don't sound crazy to me, Carl. We spent most of 2020 fighting for this basic human right, which I thought everyone agreed with, which is called freedom of speech. And also having the right to listen to something, like the freedom to listen to another opinion. And yeah, we were blocked by everybody. PayPal, Dropbox, LinkedIn, they all deleted our accounts and blocked us. We were shadow banned by the best, just putting out ideas and allowing people to consume them. So, but without that, you can't have a really robust argument, and you never actually know how you feel until someone challenges your argument, and you have to articulate why you believe that way. And many people, Carl, realize that they actually didn't have an opinion, they just repeated something they heard over and over. And when they actually have to maybe have a debate with someone, they go, maybe I don't think that. So it's really healthy to have that freedom of speech. And like you said, sometimes you'll get some bad elements, but actually crypto and blockchain has shown us that communities can actually do a good job of policing communities and getting good actors and bad actors and setting up these organizations. So yeah, I believe that's so important for the future. Having financial freedom, freedom of speech, freedom of governance. If you can keep those, we've got a great potential future. If we start compromising on those, you're right, it doesn't look good and it gets bad real quick with the tech and the AI and all that stuff. So yeah, you got to
yeah, exactly. Freedom of speech, the whole point of that is so that people can say what you don't want to hear. And like, it's the whole point of freedom of speech. And we're completely missing that point today. It's so sad and it's so crazy. And I just want to stress that we don't have freedom of speech today. It doesn't exist today. Because if even one single opinion is blocked out there out of millions of opinions, then we don't have freedom of speech, right? Because everything has to be allowed. And again, people will say stupid things. People will say things that hurt you, hurt my feelings. I will be offended maybe, but I don't have the right to ban someone because I get offended. Being offended is something natural and healthy, and I think we all should get more offended in this world because it's healthy.
Yeah, we'll do another episode another time. We'll go deep on freedom of speech because I had a lot of guests talking about this when this happened to try to even bring you up to speed. Like you said, and you're right, freedom of speech means someone's going to say something you don't want to do. That's what it really is. It will offend you, and it'll challenge you. And like you said, one opinion not out there is already a travesty. The worst thing that happens, Carl, is when you self-censor yourself because you think you'll be taken off platforms or you're worried what people are going to say. So you get to a point where almost you don't even speak your mind anymore because you're worried, and that's not where we want to go. A healthy debate is always where progress comes from. So I appreciate that. We'll put links in the show notes as well to everything you're doing charity-wise. Carl, just wanted to finish with your thoughts, with people that are watching today and listening, and they're resonating with this idea that you change your energy, change your visualization of the future, and then your future can change. Just some final thoughts and maybe some practical action, because Carl, it's one thing to dream it, but you started taking action, right? You started learning, watching videos, investing in Bitcoin, putting out videos, which we all know it's a lightning rod of criticism, and it's hard to do sometimes. How would you end this by telling people how they can kind of start their journey with like a new level of their life?
Okay, so first of all, there are 3 certain types of people in the world. So I want to explain the law of attraction by explaining this. So you have the first set of people that are letting the life happen to them. For example, me in the supermarket, life was happening to me. I had a boss telling me what to do. I got my salary depending on what they decide to give me, right? That's one certain type of people. Then you have a second type of people that allow life to happen by them. These people, they start taking action. They work hard. They maybe open their own little firm, their own supermarket maybe, and they go get it, But they're working hard. They put in the hours. They don't really have free time. But they make money. But what is money if you don't have free time, right? Then you have this third, very, very rare breed of people that allow life to happen through them. I'm a perfect example of this. I allow the universe to give me what I want and need by allowing myself to attract it. So my life is flowing through me. Everything is happening through me. Not by me, not to me, but through me. I feel like I am on a river in a boat, and I feel like I'm just, drifting, being, taken to my goal. I don't have to do like this in this little boat. No, I'm flowing there. Opportunities will come to me. I just have to reach out like this and take the opportunity. And that's how I know that the law of attraction is working. But okay, so how to actually make this happen? It's all about the mindset. It's all about the energy that you have inside of you. Like I said in the beginning of this interview, everything is energy. Literally the whole universe is like a big symphony of vibration, vibrational energy. Mind over matter. We are the only thing that exists. We are eternal beings. So understand your power. Then you can understand that if mind over matter is a thing, then that means that this doesn't exist. We can shape reality, literally. Just like you can build something with Lego, or you take clay and shape it, you can shape the world because it doesn't even exist. It's not even there in the first place. It's just a hologram. So of course you can change it. But it takes time and effort and energy and mindset work. If it could change just like that, then imagine if you just have one bad thought. If you think about the car crash and then you just crash, that would be bad. So there's a reason why the universe works like this. It's to save you from crashing the car. So intentional energy over time, let's say over 3, 4, 5 months, that is the seed and the water that you put on it that allows you to attract things to you or through you. So I usually tell people that, start visualizing, write down your goals. You can write them down every day if you want, but at least write them down once. Tell them to yourself over and over. Visualize every day. Don't do it for 1 week and then give up. That's what people do, and then they say law of attraction doesn't work. No, you just gave up. Keep doing it for at least 6 months, let's say. Because you plant a seed. You don't see a tree the next week. It takes time. And more importantly, it takes water. You need to water it every single day, over and over and over. And with patience and continuously watering it. And water in this case is the affirmation, the visualization, the energy, the acting as if. Eventually it will happen. Just as surely as if I take my phone and drop it on the floor, it will fall. Gravity. Gravity is there whether you believe it or not. It's not a matter of opinion. It will fall down. The same with the law of attraction. If you do what I just told you now, you will get these things. It's a law of nature, just like gravity. And yeah, I think I just told you exactly what you need to become a billionaire, become a famous musician, be healthy, get healthy from cancer, whatever it is out there that you're struggling with or that you want to be, you can be anything you want. Look at me. I mean, come on. From supermarket to driving around a Bugatti, flying private jets in just 3.5 years. It's obvious that it was because of the law of attraction, the universe, the energy, and people called me crazy back then. But actually, they still call me crazy, to be honest. But at least, you know, I feel like I'm a living proof that the law of attraction works and that the universe is just a hologram and that you can change your universe because you are the only thing that actually exists in the universe.
Yeah, Carl, you just gave me a flashback because I had 9 years ago in the studio a very similar conversation where one of my guests just said those three things. Life is happening to you, by you, or through you. And that was that ultimate level of resonance. So you're talking to the right crowd. I think it was the guy, I think it was Bruce Lipton that first talked about that here. And when he mentioned it, it was like, it really made me think about it. So every day I try to do the through you existence, the through you existence. A lot of people are in that kind of to you victim mentality. Some people are in the by you, look at all the things I do. But when you start going the through you, you're just a conduit to all amazing things happening to everybody around you. That's when you can finally get to that next level and everyone around you as well. And that's when, like you said, all these things are happening. So it's fantastic to hear you talk about this, Carl, because again, you're a real living proof of this mindset. And I can't wait for people to see that piece of this interview. Carl, I want to get final thoughts from you. First of all, best way for people to follow you, I know Twitter, you've got the Moon channel, you've got your own Carl Runfeld channel on YouTube as well. And then final thoughts, you know, for anybody listening here that's curious about crypto or curious about the world.
Well, that's a great question. I feel like we covered a bunch of good stuff here. I think, obviously, if you want to transform your life, if you want to make a huge amount of money or become free, yeah, you can use crypto, you can buy crypto, but more importantly, I think you should work on your mindset first of all. But if you don't have any Bitcoin, please, for the love of God, buy just a little bit of Bitcoin. Whether it's $1, $100, $1,000, buy a little bit. Just put your foot in the door, because only when you actually buy Bitcoin, that's when you will understand what it is. Because just like, why should I explain to someone what Facebook is? Use it. Just use it, and you will understand. I don't have to explain anything. Same with Bitcoin. Unless you actually try it and use it and send it to someone, send it back, you know, I think that's the most important thing. I researched Bitcoin for quite some time before I started actually buying. But when I bought Bitcoin, that's when I, you know, was completely sold. I think that's important. And, you know, be happy, be like that. You deserve your dream life. You deserve the best. Why should you not have the best? And put high goals. Don't limit yourself. If you put a goal like I'm gonna make $100,000 or $50,000 by the end of the year, that's a very low goal. Now you limited yourself. Why not $1 million? Why not $50 million? And actually, I don't like to put time on my goal. I actually never say by the end of the year or in the next month. I always just put the energy as if I already have it. I don't care about the time, because timing can sometimes put doubts in your mind, like, oh, now it's getting close to the end, like doubt. So I just like to put the energy as if I already have it, and so far everything that I've visualized and put the energy inside, I got it. But put your goals high. If you aim for the stars, at least maybe you reach the moon. I think that's a very important thing, and as soon as you reach your first goal, don't double the goal. You should 10x, 100x, I don't know, 1000x. Like, why can't you be a billionaire? Why can't you be the biggest artist in your country? Or why not the world? Why not? Or why can't you explore, I don't know, Mars? Like, become Elon Musk, you know? Think big. I'm always thinking, like, I know that there's going to be a time in the future where I have a house party. Elon Musk, he will call me and say, hey, Carl, can I come to your party? And I will tell him, yeah, sure, you can come, and you can bring +1, +2 maybe if you want. But I have to check with my team if it's okay. I need to check my guest list. You know, I'm on the level in my mind where, of course, that should be the case. I deserve it. I am this eternal being, mind over matter, everything is just energy. Why should I limit myself to this physical world that doesn't even exist? So I shape my world to whatever I want it to be, because we live in a computer game. In a computer game, there are no rules, right? You just do whatever you want. You just, you know, it's you shape your world, and it is literally true. I can't stress it enough. It's all energy.
Carl, you are very London real, let's just say that. So I appreciate you having these conversations. And I'm so glad we're doing it also with the lens of crypto. This is going to resonate in a massive way. So, Luke, thank you so much for the time. This is the best interview you've ever done, obviously, and thanks for going into depth with everything. Let's do it again. Maybe I'll be in Dubai in October, or if you get to London, let's do it in the studio.
For sure.
And yeah, just really appreciate you doing it. I appreciate you going hard on this mindset. And I say to anybody who's listening to this for the first time, meditate on this stuff. It's real, and it works, and it's something we've been talking about for years here with hundreds of guests. So it's great stuff.
Before we go, I want to say, very nice interview. I think it's true. This is probably the best interview I ever did. We covered mindset and crypto and everything. It went together so well. I will share this with my audience. I will share this with everyone because I think it was a great interview. I think you're great at asking questions and making the interview fun. And good job. Very nice.
Thanks, pal. I appreciate you. Stay with me here. We'll sign out to everybody else. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time on London Real. Take care. Bye.